Hi, how hi, how are we? What's been going on? I don't know. Whoever's new, whoever's just like chilling with me right now, something beautiful happened, and I want to share it with you. It was literally on the way back from work. So today I did one of those. Like the past 3, 4 days, I've been like intensely just working on the website, trying my best not to like think of new stuff to add. I really just wanted to like get whatever is there all over with. And I managed to, over the past 4 days, 5 days, to kind of like build a lot more and add a lot more stuff and like figure out features and like understand things differently. It was just like a beautiful transition as I'm moving forward. But so in a way, I've been kind of like putting myself on the spot. On top of all of that, last week on Saturday, I got paid for the website. And what happened naturally is like everything I promised I would do with that money, I did it. So now we're back to square one at zero. And I was thinking to myself, like, I could actually, because I have some spare money to buy books, right? But today I messaged them. I was like, what the hell, guys? Like, you were supposed to send the books 2 weeks ago. You didn't. And they were like, oh, okay, we have problems with the publishers. So technically, I have some money to spare, which is about like 35 bucks. Now, the first thing I thought about was like, let's go chill someplace and have some coffee. And then I was like, no, but this 35 bucks was for books. That was a debate for like 30 minutes today, or at least 20, standing under the rain before I ended up going back to work. Because if I had money, I don't really have to go to work, right? Like, so the whole principle of establishing a pattern for me was kind of like shaken because whatever I was using to squeeze myself and to put myself like there's no flight anymore, right? There's no I could do something else. Like there's something in front of me, I have to confront it. But so that's been the mood of the day, and it's beautiful because like I did everything in the morning, not the best morning routine, and not the best kind of like opening to the day. For some reason, yesterday I slept by 11 o'clock, but I still managed to wake up today at 8. I could not hear at all the actual like the شو اسمه the alarm. So again, like I'm trying to figure out the new pattern, but it's becoming better and it's becoming better and it's becoming better. And my mind has become clearer. Like all the outside world is not really as involved with me as was before. And I really don't know how to explain it. But ultimately, when my environment became only like what I do in the morning, my walk, my work, my exercise, and my house back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It felt like a lot of the responsibility that happens in the outside world that I used to be involved in is no longer there. But on my way from work, fuck, we're only 3 minutes. I've been talking a lot. On my way coming from work today, I was just thinking about the extra cash that I have. Fun. I was thinking about the extra cash that I have. I was like, hey man, if you have an extra 20 bucks, what do you fucking do? Yes, splurge. No. But I was thinking about the extra cash and what I wanted to do. And then while I was thinking about it, and again, like when you're thinking, you're not really thinking. You're observing your thoughts and you're seeing how you process things. And it's funny because as I was just looking at things and I was like thinking, haha, okay, so like, no, I really want to finish my site and my platform and start working on it, but I have to like produce enough money for me to be able to kind of like I have to be able to sustain myself. But what would really sustain myself? And then when I asked myself that question, my response was simple. All I need is $10 a day, $4 to $5 for food, $4 to $5 for coffee, and basically everything else. And at that moment, my consciousness kind of like stepped in and was like, what? And literally, like I was walking and I literally, it's like one of those, like, what the fuck's going on? And then it hit me. Really? When I am completely unconscious, when I'm completely just walking and observing my thoughts, because the walk home is something that I'm so used to, right? So it's the simplest thing for me to not think about. I could really just kind of like process things and the views and everything. My thoughts about my financial situation slash money slash needs or whatever, like when you're kind of like targeting things and you're looking at your current status, I was okay with $300 a month. That's literally what happened. In my head, I was like, I literally watch myself making a statement to myself because that's what my thoughts were saying. My thoughts were literally saying, all I want is $10 a day in order to basically build the website and in order, like, the justifications. And then I stopped right there and I was like, what can $10 do eh, for the website? And okay, so I don't know how to fucking explain this, but it's one of those like when you realize how you actually think. Because every once in a while I kind of say something and I'm reflecting on it, but I don't really understand how I subconsciously reflect on it. And so at that moment I realized that like subconsciously I was okay with $10 a day, which is not cool. Fuck yeah, that's not cool at all. So the first thing I did was ask. It was like, what would you do with $10? And then I was like, oh, with $10, I would do this and I would do this. And how would that benefit like you working on your website? Because you're going to be always stressed on money. And how would that pay rent? And how would that do this? And then suddenly I felt like I was cornering myself and I was being very fucking aggressive. And as I was actually having this conversation, I was walking and I smiled and I was like, fuck, okay, so I'm being aggressive because that's not really how I talk in general. But that's how my mentality used to be towards myself. Like, you could do it, fuck yeah, and all that bullshit. Like, when you're starting to be aggressive. And I looked at myself and I was like, that's not how I talk. That's how my head does things. Or at the very least, the patterns that are still there from before are basically those patterns that are aggressive. And if anything, when I saw myself kind of like cornering my own thoughts as I was walking home, the first thing I had to do was to smile and laugh and kind of like be like, oh shit, okay, so I'm acting right now like the patterns that used to happen before. And in a way, that felt like I was showing proof to myself that I actually have changed, which made me feel so small. And again, made me feel so small. Who is me? The actual feeling coming out of me has always been coming subconsciously and unconsciously. And then when I felt small, I realized that the reason I felt small is because I acted in a way, even though I am going through a lot of changes, a big part of me still doesn't believe it. A big part of me still is not ready to accept it, is not fully understanding that this is me, this is the new me, this is the evolved me, this is the understanding me, this is the nice me, this is the observant me, the patient me, like all that stuff that have been changing overall. And I've been trying my best not to be like, not to have these bits and pieces that linger but are so deep inside of us. Even when you bring them to the surface, you always tend to judge them instead of be kind to them and instead of being responsive to them. So naturally, when you judge them, what are you doing? You're condemning them. So they're going to go back heavier and stronger simply because you're giving them a lot more energy. So effectively, I literally just smiled and I kept asking the question, how much money do you need? How much money is, how much money will bring you closer? And I just couldn't answer. And the more I asked that question, the more I felt frustrated. But I was asking the question this time. And I asked it and I asked it and I asked it and I asked it enough until the option of $10 in my head daily, I felt it like completely being non existent, completely non existent. And I was initially like, how much money do you need? And at first it would be like $10 and then it would change its mind. 10 and change its mind. And I think I figured the whole self talk that people say or discuss or just self talk is not the statements you make. It is the statements that are made by you. And I don't know if I can tell the difference between these two yet, I can make the statement, but everything else, my mind and my body, are not really used to my voice, or at the very least, are used to my voice not really being honest or saying the truth for the longest time. And let's face it, we all have our hypocrisies, and that's enough. So I really feel that I kind of like found the difference between me, between the words that I'm saying and the words that are coming out of me, and the difference between them in my head, and how that kind of like that those two worlds kind of like when they harmonize is when your reality becomes exactly how you want. I'm going to elaborate on that a bit in the future, but I'm going to like write that down as a note. And this was just a morning, an afternoon rant. It's a fucking video. Ow!